the British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
It's round 3 of the 2013 British Superlite Championship from Finmere Showground in Oxfordshire, the border of Cambridgeshire and Northamptonshire. And on row 1 of 650, Superlite race number 1, Paul Hudson takes pole position with Ian Biswell alongside him. On row 2 is Anthony Jackson with Tony Turner. On row 3 is Phil Redfern with Joe Walton. On row 4 is Jake Swan with Danny Kerwood. On row 5 is Gordon Knox with Sadie Redfern. And on row 6 in P11 is Andrew Crombie. So the drivers on the start line, Luke Jameson alongside me today, and the drivers under starters orders, Luke.
Yeah, the driver's away, and a good start for the man in the number 4 machine. That's Paul Hudson from the inside there. He's got to the first turn first, and it's a fairly narrow circuit, this one, Chris, so there's going to be a little bit of that sensible processional stuff at certain points, and then the driver's looking for the gap and trying to make the pass in certain places around this circuit. As we go through the race, we'll start to see where those passing opportunities are, but it's going to be narrow, and people are going to have to think before they go for gaps that aren't really there today.
Absolutely, a quick circuit there as we're picking up Tony Turner, number 84, holding his hand out. I think Tina Turner's just waving to the audience there as the rest of the pack come through. Yeah,
I think the reality of that one is that Tony's, we've seen him do this before, putting his hand up to protect himself from the roost from the Superlite in front of him, but Tony looking fairly quick here. But it has to be said, Chris, that for the Superlites, even though it's less than the Supermotos, it's still quite a big dirt section here at Finmere, isn't it?
It is. I mean, this is one of the circuits that's mostly off-road circuit and dirt as opposed to tarmac. But the man at the moment ruling the roost is Paul Hudson out in front as we're picking up the battle of Jake Swan. He's had a great start to the season so far. Currently in a bit of traffic, and behind number 69, Tim Page's Sadie Redfern seems to have had a bit of understeer and no doubt crashed into the barriers there, getting herself back going again. But we're picking up our race leader here, Paul Hudson, number 4, in a class of his own at the moment.
Yeah, Paul Hudson looking pretty much unchallenged out front. There's a bit of a battle further down, and that looked to be with Jake Swan and number 69, Tim Page there. Tim just ahead of Jake, and I think behind them Gordon Knox Gordon Knox there in the 47 Superlite. So Jake Swan, we've seen him with a fair old turn of pace over the course of the season, and you can see he's through the turns a bit more speed and a bit more entry speed maybe than Tim Page, and then Tim's doing the slow in fast out routine and pulled away from Jake, so Jake's got a bit of a problem on his hands there because it's slowing him down.
Gordon Knox
now getting the attentions of Gordon to deal with as well.
I was going to say, Gordon Knox having a real look at Jake, and that's to his credit. Gordon Knox, one of the new drivers to the championship, and really seems to have got the bit between his teeth with this, really giving chase to Jake here.
Yeah, we said that this is Jake's first attempt at a full season of Superlite racing. We saw a little bit of pace from Jake Swan in 2012, and he's looked good so far this season, as you've said. But as you say also, Gordon Knox is a driver who's just started to get a bit of experience under his belt and definitely looks to be improving.
Absolutely. Tim Page just ahead of them. Here comes Danny Kerwood in that military style livery that he's
Crombie
got
at the back there. He's another newcomer who's just picking up the pace as he goes along, but I think he's already got the attentions of Sadie Redfern to deal with. Sadie's gone off, had a problem, but she's rejoined, and Sadie pretty much has a quick pace every now and again, and then she seems to have maybe had just a few mistakes this season that have held her back a bit. Not sure whether that's mechanical or Sadie error.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of those seasons really.
Big understeer there for Andrew Crombie, straight on into the hay bale, and that would have been a bit of an eye-opener for him.
I think that was, by the looks of things, very, very similar to what Sadie did, previous lap as she's trying to recover from that. Forces Andrew into exactly the same mistake.
Yeah, and as you say, knowingly and tellingly behind, Sadie didn't make anything like the same mistake, so she clearly learnt from the error of her ways previously.
Absolutely. So number 69 then, Tim Page from Rebel Racing. A little bit of understeer. He corrects it. He keeps it trim and tight there as he goes through that chicane back onto the start-finish line there. Picking up number 4 then, our race leader Paul Hudson. And just way out in front and driving a very, very smooth race. We've got this gaggle of cars here all coming back onto the brief tarmac section before taking this. And a big nosedive from number 113 there, Ian Biswell.
In second place, and he's just coming up to lap Andrew Crombie, who we've seen had that off a little bit early. So Andrew's rejoined. Good driving from Andrew there to let the man in second place through, and probably the rest of the guys behind him. Not too much time lost by Tony Turner or Anthony Jackson there, or any of the other guys there. Well, no, Tony Turner actually is still stuck behind the back marker and gesticulating wildly, so I'm afraid I'll have to eat my words there. I was very wrong.
Well, he gets the power down and gets past him. We're now on the final lap, and just clipping a cone there, number 41.
That's Anthony Jackson. Not left enough room there, unfortunately.
Yeah, very, very difficult. You've really got to be committed and get the power down early to be able to make the moves down those straights, and very, very bumpy as well, so it's difficult to keep it trim. And then into this dirt section, there's very, very soft ground as well, so it really digging up quite deep, I should imagine. We've got a big rut there as up the inside of Tony Turner comes number 41, Anthony Jackson there, and a big mistake for Tony Turner, losing a lot of time there as Paul Hudson takes the checkered flag for 650 Superlites, race number 1. So the official results for 650 race 1, Paul Hudson takes a win and 35 points ahead of Ian Biswell in second place. Anthony Jackson takes third, Tony Turner fourth ahead of Jake Swan, Tim Page, Gordon Knox, Danny Kerwood, Sadie Redfern and Andrew Crombie, the top 10. So an exciting first race to today's meeting here at Finmere for round 3 of the 2013 championship, as we can get straight on then with the action for the Open Superlight Championship, race number 1. James Addy, the newcomer to the championship, moving over from Supermoto, goes off pole position for Open Superlight race number 1. Then Colin Griffiths in P2. On row 2 is Mark Richardson with Duncan Macbeth. On row 3 is Simon Nutter with Danny Whitmey. On row 4 is Tim Page with Phil Lee alongside him. And completing the lineup then on row number 5 is Alan Henley, a newcomer to the championship too. So great to see 5 rows of drivers in this, and great to see Alan Henley and James Addy both with us today.
Yeah, James Addy quick in the last round, but his inexperience showed on a few occasions, but definitely qualified well last time out, and he got second place on the first grid of the day. This time he gets pole position, but straight away he's been promoted or demoted even to second place. That man going ahead of him is Mark Richardson in the number 17 Superlight. Great start from Mark, Chris, and again James Addy just not quite used to these Superlights yet, not getting off the line as well as he might have wanted.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't think it was that bad a jump from James Addy off the start there. It was Mark Richardson really digging in, but what I should point out is Mark Richardson working his way through off the second row, so he actually started directly behind James Addy and managed to come through very, very early there, as he's now under pressure from Addy in that 698 Superlight, and massive understeer for Mark Richardson. He leaves the door wide open. James Addy says, "I'll take that, thank you very much, lad."
Yeah, James Addy saying thank you very much. I think Mark Richardson basically too much speed on entry there into the corner, and the front tyres on that Superlight just went and no grip there to be had, and James Addy just sneaked through gracefully.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, with the circuit being mostly dirt, most of the drivers will be driving on wets, no doubt, for a bit more grip, but it actually looks like James Addy's got slicks on the front there.
Yeah, well, it's quite dry. I guess the dirt section's been watered. It is quite dry, so I would imagine that they've found through quali and practice that the front end wets, if you put wets on the front end, that they're just getting chewed up and they're not lasting a race distance.
Alternatively, it could be a case of James Addy new to the championship. He may not yet have a complete set of tyres, who knows? But that certainly remains to be seen. As we're picking up the battle there, Colin Griffiths really giving chase there to Charlie Wellborn, I think, just ahead of him, as the guys get on the brakes. Phil Lee, the driver behind there, and number 74 Charlie Wellborn going through that chicane there, and Danny Whitmey going out wide, also under the attentions then from
Simon Nutter just behind Danny Whitmey there. But we're back out front again, Chris, now with James Addy. James definitely had full wets on, I think, at the last round, so he's certainly got the full potent of tyres to play with. He may just well be experimenting. That's Duncan Macbeth, the current championship leader there, and it looks like Duncan's retired clearly.
Yeah, not a good start for him, and he'll be pretty frustrated with that, no doubt. Mark Richardson still giving chase to James Addy, and Addy looking like he's actually pulling away a little bit.
Yeah, James Addy always had pace on the in the Supermoto Championship on a bike, and he's a racer, does quite a bit of karting, so it's not too different in terms of it being something completely alien to him, but these things have got probably quite a bit more zip than your average go-kart.
Yeah, huge understeer and cones in the way and all sorts from Mark Richardson. He has a look at his wing mirror to see quite what he clipped there, but he's just trying to get the power down, and James Addy, pulling a bit of a gap. He also does a bit of karting, does a bit of motocross, he does a bit of all sorts. He's a born racer, is James Addy, the man from Barnsley.
Yeah, absolutely loves it, definitely enjoys his racing, and Colin Griffiths there, another man who likes to go pretty flat out, and interesting to note that this must be a fairly sort of rough track to racing, because Colin usually drives without gloves. He prefers to drive with no gloves on, and here, because I guess it's a bit rough and there's a lot of roosting places, he's decided to put the old gloves on to protect his hands.
Yeah, very, very physical circuit, I suppose, to drive this. You know, you're battling the conditions in terms of, tight corners, lots of dirt section, lots of massive understeer followed by oversteer there for Colin Griffiths, and certainly making it look entertaining. But a very physical circuit, very bumpy, very challenging, and actually that's what I love about this track, because it's really going to sort the men out from the boys, as it were. Yeah,
and James Addy's definitely stepping up at the front to be counted amongst the men, and as you say, Chris, I guess this is an unknown. It's the first time we've been to this circuit, so James Addy reaping the benefits of it being unfamiliar territory and giving him something of a bit of a level playing field, really. We're on board with James now.
Yeah, and interesting to see how he goes here, and actually whether we can see, always a bit difficult from the onboard, but whether you see it stepping out. He looks to be keeping that Superlight pretty much in trim, keeping it four wheels facing, not too much oversliding there at all, as we're picking up Phil Lee, of course a previous championship winner, and at 46 there we're seeing to Alan Henley, so he's having his moment in the sunshine here at Finmere Showground. Colin Griffiths too. Well, a man that I would be expecting to see slightly further up. Looks like he's struggling a little bit for pace at the moment. James Addy running away with it, now coming up behind a back marker in the form of Alan Henley.
Yeah, Alan Henley
passed him without too much trouble there by the looks.
Yeah, fair play to Alan Henley there. He left enough space for James Addy to make his way through, unmolested as it were. But as you say, Chris, Alan, a newcomer to the championship, and just finding his feet there, and definitely not on the pace yet, but that'll come over time, because you just have to have the seat time in these things to get used to them.
Absolutely, number 46 on his Superlight, perhaps a Valentino Rossi fan himself.
Yeah, but James Addy, 698. Oh, beautiful line from James Addy through there, and he didn't even. I was expecting a dab of the brakes just for a little bit of confidence, but he just threaded the needle through that chicane there and just absolutely gassed it.
Yeah, well, he's always full gas, is James Addy, and the only reason I suppose he's racing Superlight racing rather than the Supermoto this season is due to that wrist injury that he sustained in the big Mete meeting in Belgium last year, and that's put paid to his bike racing for the time being, so he's decided to get himself a Superlight and make sure he's part of the paddock and part of the action on circuit too, so great to see him out there still being competitive.
Yeah, and clearly decided that today he's having his share of race wins as well.
Well, there is the checkered flag, and as you say, Luke, quite rightly, taking his first race win of the season, and looking pretty comfortable as well, it has to be said. A great race win then for James Addy for Superlights Open at race number 1, number 698, taking 35 points, a familiar sight to some. Mark Richardson taking second place then, and 32 points ahead of Danny Whitney, who claims third. Colin Griffiths fourth ahead of Simon Nutty, Charlie Wellborn, Phil Lee and Alan Henley, the 8 drivers in Superlight Race 1. So that's all the action then from the 650 class. A great win then for Paul Hudson in the 650 class and James Addy in the open class. Join us for more action then after this break.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Finmere Aerodrome for 650 Superlight race number 2. Paul Hudson takes pole position with Ian Biswell alongside him on the front row. On row 2 is Anthony Jackson with Tony Turner. Row 3 sees Jake Swan on the inside with Tim Page alongside him. On row 4 is Gordon Knox with Danny Kerwood. Row 5 sees Sadie Redfern with Andrew Crombie. And on row 6 is Joe Walton completing the lineup then. Drivers on the grid and ready to go. Luke Jameson by my side again.
Race Director Dave Dearden there with the flag, just pointing the drivers to watch the lights. When the lights go out, they'll be underway. And it's a good start again for the man in the number 4 Superlight. Time to look in his mirrors, just check what everybody else is doing. Fairly clean start, everybody just after you, sir, into that first turn. There's no room there for two drivers to be going side by side, so they've got to get themselves sorted out in that run up to the first turn. But again, Paul Hudson gets a whole shot, Chris.
Yeah, straight off the start, looking right across to see how Ian Biswell was doing out of the trap, as it were, there, and having a good look at his competitors to see whether he had got it single file into that first chicane.
Yeah, I guess the pole position's on the racing line, so there's perhaps a little bit more rubber down there, so a little bit more grip, I guess, and that's just enough to get it sorted out. Ian Biswell in second place there, just electing to take a bit of a roll off so he can clear his vision, and now they've got themselves settled down. It's a matter of maintaining the pace and seeing if you can force an error from the driver in front.
Yeah, Tony Turner, the 84 Superlight that we're following at the moment, and really giving chase the man from York here, getting the power down there as he comes down the main straight. And number 41 behind him, Anthony Jackson. Number 69, Tim Page behind him. Danny Kerwood having a battle as up the inside comes Jake Swan there. A great move from Jake, and he pinches that place then.
Yeah, brave overtaking manoeuvre from Jake there, just going into that little left-hand chicane, and he got alongside, got himself the position he needed on track, and the man in the number 7 Superlight, Danny Kerwood, having no option but to just say after you, sir, and yield the corner that Jake had clearly won fair and square even.
Easy for you to say. I mean, it comes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. You've just got to get the power down so early and get your wheels in line off that little right-hander. That's very tight as well, so very difficult to get your wheels in line and get that power down so early. Jake making a fine example of that then.
Yeah, really, really good speed into that corner, clearly carrying more entry speed than some of the other drivers, but not too much input on the steering wheel, just drifting the back end in. And I think we've said before that these Superlights have got split brakes, so you can put more back brake in on these ones, I think, if I recall correctly.
Sadie Redfern there just ahead of Joe Walton, and a real battle going on here between number 88 and that's Gordon Knox making a move then on Andrew Crombie, and great to see those two battling it out.
Yeah, good move there from Andrew Crombie, really aggressive and plenty of purpose coming out of the corner, and managed to get a good run around the outside, and Andrew Crombie being polite enough to leave enough room.
Well, Tim Page has got a Jake Swan on his tail, and he's no doubt going to be giving a real chase here and putting this man under serious pressure. Another battle behind them then is Phil Redfern's coming under the attentions of Danny Kerwood too, but look at this. And as you said, Luke, you know, the corner entry speed from, that's Gordon Knox, isn't it? Going straight through the tyre wall there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as they sort of navigate their way around that big jump.
Redfern and Walton, Redfern and Jake Swan coming together there, and well, that's really scuppered Jake's race there. Can he get it in reverse? Can he back it up? Can he carry on after he'd done all the work there? Phil Redfern having a go at Tim Page. Up the inside he goes. Phil Redfern takes 2 places there, thank you very much.
Yeah, Phil Redfern clearly carrying a lot of speed there, but there just wasn't enough room for Phil and Jake to both get through that narrow gap. Poor old Jake Swan has found himself on the sidelines. Hopefully not too much damage to that Superlight, and he can regroup and come back in the next race. But Phil Redfern currently got himself in a strong position at the moment, and picking up extra points. I think he's got himself up now into 5th place.
Yeah, hard racer Phil Redfern, and to be fair, you need to be hard on this track because there's not many passing opportunities, so it's very easy to make contact even if you don't mean to, but yeah, difficult to make the moves, and he managed to get 2 in half a lap there. Fantastic.
Yeah, making up to 2 places but taking no prisoners. Number 69 behind him, Tim Page, will just keep threading the needle as it is. There is Phil's daughter Sadie. She's doing pretty well at the moment, but she's got Joe Walton breathing down her neck. Back out towards the front of things, we've got number 41 Anthony Jackson trying to chase down number 84 Tony Turner there, and Tony Turner's just got himself a little bit of breathing space between himself and the man behind him in 4th place. But Paul Hudson still way out front. We've not seen Paul for a little bit. I think he's got plenty of fresh air between himself and Ian Biswell in the 113 machine in second place, but these two battling at the moment. That's the battle on track to see whether they can sort themselves out, and that's Danny Kerwood. Looks like he may have lost his right rear wheel there, Chris.
Yeah, I think that is a wheel off, and it's certainly a steering wheel off, and yeah, I think there's a bit more than suspension damage from the way that cart's leaned.
Yeah, back out front though, Paul Hudson in the number 4 Superlight is leading, and I would have to say that he's leading fairly comfortably. He just passes the stricken Danny Kerwood, flashing through the shot there. There's 113, that's Ian Biswell, and you can see the gap in the background is fairly healthy between Ian in second place and Tony Turner in third at the moment. But that's the win for Paul Hudson in the second 650 Superlight race of the day.
Yeah, second win of the afternoon. Fantastic stuff from Paul Hudson, and Tony Turner just coming through to take his well-earned third place there. Paul Hudson, the winner, of course, going away with 35 points in 650 Superlight race number 2 ahead of Ian Biswell in second place. Tony Turner, as I say, takes third ahead of Phil Redfern, Anthony Jackson, Tim Page, Joe Walton, Sadie Redfern, Danny Kerwood, Andrew Crombie. And of course, you've got to feel sorry for Jake Swan in that race, a non-finisher in Superlight race number 2 in the 650 class. Well, on we go then with Open Superlights race number 2. And for the second time today, James Addy takes pole position in his debut season in the Superlight class. Mark Richardson alongside him on the front row. On row 2 is Danny Whitby with Colin Griffiths in P4. On row 3 is Simon Nutter with Charlie Wellborn in P6. On row 4 is Phil Lee with Alan Henley, completing the lineup then in Open Superlight race number 2.
So the drivers on the grid then for Superlight Open Race 2. They're looking at the lights and they get away nice and cleanly. Good start from James Addy there. Time to look in the mirrors. Good start from Mark Richardson again, but James Addy getting the whole shot. Plenty of time to look in the mirrors for James, just making sure everything's as it should be. And a good start from Colin Griffiths in third place ahead of Danny Whitby there, Chris.
Yeah, and Mark mounting the back of James Addy there, and that allows Colin Griffiths the chance to close the gap on Mark Richardson, but whether he can gain any advantage, this is the interesting bit as they go over this jump. Then Colin Griffiths getting the power down as the rest of the Superlights all file through, trying to get themselves organised, but at the moment it's all single file, I think, as they were from the start then.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that because I noticed it before on the first lap of the last race that in this particular corner, Mark Richardson going in sort of hot, so he's trying to carry speed in and get it slowed down in the corner and then come out slower, whereas James Addy doing it the other way around, slow in, fast out, and that's sort of why the coming together took place. But there's a man in front at the moment, James Addy, and his approach to things on this track, certainly today, seems to be working very nicely for him because he's got, again, a fairly comfortable lead ahead of Mark Richardson just after just a couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, very easy with Superlights to get giddy in because they're so much fun to drive, you know, overslide them, drift them around the corners, etc. But James Addy has done quite a bit of karting, so he knows how to straight line it, and it's working to his advantage here because he's keeping it pretty trim and straight, and actually that's given him much faster pace. Is Colin Griffiths just snaking the back again, Danny Whitby then behind him, just ahead of Simon Nutter. Yeah,
Simon Nutter in that very pink number 19 Superlight, and he's not being particularly pink or fussy or hissy or prissy, if you like, in terms of his affections on the man in front of him in that 56 machine. He's basically trying to shove him out of the way.
Yeah, certainly won't be buying him flowers, that's for certain. But Simon Nutter and Tim Page keep confusing me because they're both Rebel Racing drivers, and they had very similar Superlights last season. They haven't done as there's a pass going on there on Danny Whitby there. Up the inside goes Simon Nutter. They almost touched wheels there. In fact, I think they did touch wheels, just glancing off each other's outer rims there. Nutter makes his way past then, and Danny Whitby relegated down that position then on the number 56 Superlight. Now coming under the attention for Phil Lee.
Yeah, Danny Whitby now relegated to 5th place, but a brilliant pass there from Simon Nutter, and it's the first move that we've seen in that particular part of the dirt section. So
well, I saw a second move. I actually saw a cone moving then off the roost, off the back wheel, so that's the power that these Superlight drivers are getting down here.
Yeah, and we've seen that, we said before, in the 650 class, we saw Tony Turner appearing to wave to the crowd, but actually he was putting his hand in the way of the roost to just protect himself as the dirt was coming underneath his helmet.
Well, brilliant slide in, and Colin Griffiths looking very comfortable there, just gets the power on, very well controlled from Colin Griffiths, but you can see how bumpy that is. It's a very technical circuit, this Finmere aerodrome.
It is. As you say, it's very, very rough. You can just see Duncan Macbeth there having a battle with the number 74 machine of Charlie Wellborn. And Duncan's been struggling a little bit today because he retired from race number 1. He's been used to running at the front of the circuit. Coming into this round, he'd won 5 of 6 races. And now on this really narrow track, he's got to try and sort of fight his way through to the front, and there just isn't the room. And I think it's fair to say that he's perhaps a little bit quicker on the tarmac than he is on the dirt.
Yeah, coming out of that little, I'm going to call it the orchard section there, and a bit of a T-bone going on there, making contact with number 70.
That's Charlie Wellborn. Fairly uncivilised, one would say there.
I was going to say, it certainly looked like the end of the slip road for him there, didn't it? And the gap unceremoniously being closed.
And Charlie Wellborn, to be fair, holding his own, and despite the unwarranted affections of Duncan Macbeth, he's held on to it, and Duncan's come off second best there.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit. As too is Simon Nutter by the looks of things, and it looks like he's lost a wheel. And we talked about how this circuit is quite rough. I don't know if that was actually contact or just the wheel collapse. And these things are really tough, so I'd be surprised if it has just collapsed. I wonder if there was something we didn't quite catch there.
Yeah.
Or, of course, there's not a lot of runoff down that back straight, lots of trees, and I think there's a fence there too, so maybe he's clipped that.
Yeah, maybe Simon's just gone and collected something that he didn't want to be collecting. Either way, 3 wheels on his wagon, and he's not going far like that. But the man in the number 40 machine is Colin Griffiths in 4th place, and Colin looks like he's got some sort of head and neck system there. You can just see the little straps on his helmet as a head restraint in the event of something going wrong. But Duncan Macbeth now with that power there, he looks like he's found the gap there and forced his way up the inside. No contact there. Great pass from Duncan. We've cut away to another area, but that's the number 46 machine. But Alan Henley, and it looks like Alan's retired, but there's Duncan Macbeth. He's past the other newcomer, Charlie Wellborn, and a great pass there from Duncan, and we've seen Duncan's pace already. He's gapped at Charlie in a very short space of time there.
Yeah, I think he'll be perhaps slightly frustrated it took him so long to get past. We're back with James Addy, our front runner, and just looking very, very steady. I mean, it's hard to believe that, this is one of his first meetings. He missed the first round. He picked up a Superlite and had a go then at Redmond. The last round, and that doesn't look good. No, James Addy crashing there, losing the lead there with Mark Richardson coming past him. And James Addy is in trouble. It looks as he lost a wheel too.
Yeah.
Is that his race over? Yellow flags are out, and it looks like James Addy's collided there with Simon Nutter. The red flags are in fact out, and the race has been stopped. So there is Simon Nutter, and now this will be interesting. Dave Dearden awarding James Addy the race win as he did collect Simon Nutter. So Addy takes the race win with the race stopped after 8 laps. Mark Richardson second place ahead of Colin Griffiths, Danny Whitney, Phil Lee, Duncan Macbeth and Charlie Wellborn. Now Simon Nutter, having retired in lap 5 of the 8 laps, does get 8th place because he completed 75% of the race ahead of Alan Henley. So interesting action in Open Superlight race number 2. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out come the end of the championship and if anyone's affected by that. But it's Paul Hudson that takes the win for 650 class, and of course a great victory for James Addy. A little bit lucky there too in the Open class. Join us again for more action then after this break.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Finmere Aerodrome. It's time for 650 Superlight race number 3. Paul Hudson takes his 3rd pole position of the day on row 1 alongside him, Ian Biswell. Tony Turner goes on row 2 with Phil Redfern. On row 3 is Anthony Jackson with Tim Page. On row 4 is Joe Walton in P7 with Sadie Redfern in P8. On row 5 is Danny Kerwood with Andrew Crombie. On row 6 is Jake Swan with Gordon Knox.
Drivers on the grid then for the final 650 Superlight race of the day, and Jake Swan at the back of the grid's got a lot of work to do. A championship contender in 2013, and he'll be desperate to salvage as many points from this one as possible. Paul Hudson looking for the opportunity to make it 3 out of 3. Great start from Tony Turner to get himself into 2nd place ahead of Ian Biswell and Phil Redfern. I think at the moment in third place, managing to get around the outside of Ian Biswell. But Paul Hudson, the man of the moment today, and he's in first place yet again for the third time in 3 races here at this Finmere circuit.
And a great low angle shot there on the Superlight of Tony Turner in second place, battling it out with Phil Redfern, and you can be sure that Phil Redfern is going to be trying to storm his way through as he did in the last race. Don't forget, of course, Jake Swan further down the grid in this. He's certainly going to be looking to make amends for an unfortunately disastrous start earlier in his day, and he's certainly going to be looking to make challenge here, but not at the races so far, it would seem, in this pack of action.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Jake, to be fair, is very, very quick on the tarmac, but this is a circuit that's very different to any of the others that we've been to.
Oh,
and
Phil Redfern going deep and up the inside.
Fantastic, Phil. Brilliant shot there from on board with Tony Turner in that number 84 Super. That's a fantastic angle. We're loving that. But Phil Lee looking really, really aggressive. And with this dirt section, it seems to me that you've got to be massively positive and really throw it in there and then chuck out the anchors to slow it down. And Phil seems to really have that dialed in and nailed down, as it were.
Yeah, there's 2 ways of driving this circuit. It's either attack or defence. It's so narrow, it's easy to defend, but if you want to gain some championship points, you've really got to make those moves. Jake Swan going the opposite way. He's had a bit of a misdemeanour there by the looks of things, and I think someone else was involved. I'm not sure who it was that had just caught briefly in the shot. I'm not sure if they were passing him or had actually collided with Jake. We're on board with him too. That's quite an interesting, nice little angle, isn't it, from the roof of Jake's Superlight. But Ian Biswell there, number 113 behind Tony Turner, and coming under the attentions of number 41 Anthony Jackson there.
Yeah, Jake Swan definitely having a day to forget, but at the moment we're on board with that man in the 84 Superlight in second place. Tony Turner trying to see if he can make any headway on Phil Redfern in first place. Ian Biswell now down in fifth at the moment and chasing down Tony Turner. That's a big bail. You don't want to be collecting one of those at 90 miles an hour or whatever he was doing there.
He's taking to get away with that, there, isn't he? He took a cone too there, and that was a big one, yeah, because they are big, as you say, Luke, and I'm not even sure if they're meant to be half a ton or something ridiculous there. Just shaking his head there and trying to wear off the effects of that impact, I think.
I would imagine Ian Biswell's thinking, oh, it's gone foggy.
Yeah. Phil Redfern, though, just turning it in there and, defiant as ever. I think Tony Turner in the background there looks like he collected a cone underneath his Superlight, so I'm not sure if that was stuck underneath him. That may hinder him. We can't see it on the onboard camera at the moment, as Tim Page there, number 69, has pulled up too, so that's the end of his race by the looks of things. Sadie Redfern we're looking at the moment. Let's see if we can get back to Tim Page and find out whether he gets that machine started. No, he's out of it. He is out of the race, in fact, as originally predicted, looking at the back of the Superlight there, so I wonder if that's a suspension failure for him. Danny Kerwood then, now coming under the attentions of Jake Swan, is looking to work his way back through the field, subject to being able to find a passing point. Let's see how he gets on this entrance to the main straight. Now, what I did notice, if we can come up for air for a second, is Jake can really straight line that corner, barely any steering input from him at all, which I think is what's gaining him all his speed down here. Not able to make any impact on Danny at the moment though, Luke.
No, Jake Swan, as you say, trying to chase that man ahead of him down, and I guess Jake's thinking caution is the better part of valour because he's not had too much luck so far today. But we're on board with Tony Turner trying to chase down Phil Redfern, and Phil just throwing that thing all around, all over sorts of sideways, as we've said before. And that's the man out front though, Paul Hudson, and he's had a fantastic day, looking very, very comfortable all day. Phil Redfern still coming under the attentions of number 84 Tony Turner, who in turn is being chased down by number 41 Anthony Jackson. So these three, something of a trio now, but Paul Hudson still very much the man who's cleared off out front.
Absolutely. Phil Redfern, of course, past Tony Turner now, and we are on the final lap, so Paul Hudson looks like any second now he's about to come over the line to take the checker flag. We're currently on board with Tony Turner chasing Phil Redfern, Anthony Jackson behind, but out of the last corner it's Paul Hudson that takes his third win of the day. Great driving from Paul Hudson, and some serious points bagged for him today. Paul Hudson taking the win, 35 points in 650 Superlight race number 3. Phil Redfern in second place ahead of Tony Turner. Anthony Jackson in fourth ahead of Ian Biswell, Joe Walton, Gordon Knox, Sadie Redfern, Danny Kerwood and Jake Swan, the top 10.
Fantastic performance from Paul, with the gentleman set with 3 race wins, with pole position and 3 race wins on the day.
Let's get down to the paddock there with Tony Turner. Tony, 2 4th places, finally making that 3rd place today. Just gives you 1 foot maybe on the rostrum to finish 3rd overall today.
Yeah, nice day. Come here with big expectations really after a bit of a poor meeting at Rednall. Great track at Rednall, just didn't go for me. Turned up today hoping to be consistent, get some good finishes, qualified 4th, got a really good start, got up to 3rd, back down to 4th, and then 2nd race again, 4th finish. I was thinking I think I'm going to do a bit better than that, so got out in the final, got a really good start, got 2nd behind Paul Hudson, who by the way was absolutely flying today. Couldn't keep up with him. Phil Redford made a nice move on me onto the gravel after the straight. Contained 3rd place, I had Anthony Jackson pushing me all the way, but tight track, good track, you know, really nice to come somewhere a bit different. Really enjoyed today, good racing, so bring on the next round.
When we talk about good racing, you were certainly involved in some battles as you mentioned there. Tell us a little bit about that. Did you find many opportunities to get past? Was it quite narrow for you, or is it quite technical, this circuit?
Yeah, narrow and technical is a good way to put it. Race 1, I think we come up behind the back mark at one point. I was chasing down Ian Biswell, who was in 2nd. We got behind the back mark and we took a while to get past him, so I caught up with him, I was right on Ian. I thought, ooh, I could maybe make a move, but no, he pulled away again, so I was happy with where I come then. And then I had Anthony Jackson behind me in race 2 and race 3. He was pushing me hard over the little tabletop jump. He was flying over that. In race 1 he actually overtook me in the air, jumped over my car pretty much in race 1 to get the 3rd when I got 4th. And then that last 2 races, like I say, I had to keep him behind me. I was happy, I had the pace. He just couple of corners, he was a little bit quicker than me, but it was tight, he couldn't get me, so you know, good day had by all really.
So Jake, obviously not the result you've been looking for today. How have you found it?
It's been tough. It's not the best day I've ever had, I must say, but it's how it goes. Unfortunately, you have your good days and your bad days, and this was definitely a bad day.
Talk me through your day's racing.
Well, the first race was all right. Sort of got through it, gained 3 places due to a couple of breakdowns and an overtake. That went well, so can't complain. And it went to the 2nd race where it sort of went a little bit P-tong, to be honest. Had a bit of a coming together and came off worst, I think. It's the best way of putting it. But hey, and then the 3rd one, there was a bit of someone flicked out a tyre in the road and went round it and caught the air bow, and that's how it goes. Comes in 3s, they say.
What can we say? You made it look easy out there.
Yeah, I don't know what to say really. I think I just qualified well and stayed out there. It was all down to the start really, and I don't know what to say really. I was thoroughly enjoyed myself today.
Well, you just kept your nose clean and you look quick out there.
It felt really good. I was comfortable out there, so hope it'll carry on.
Is there maybe a trick for you? Are you enjoying, I suppose, this circuit a little bit more off-road than some of the other circuits? Do you think that's played to your advantage?
Ex-motocross here, see. It's all coming back. I really loved it today.
So a quick look at the 650 Championship standings then, and after 2 4ths and a 3rd, Anthony Jackson does enough to hang on to the championship lead then ahead of Phil Redfern and Jake Swan, both tying on points then for 2nd and 3rd place going into round 4. So some great racing then in the 650 class, and a brilliant race winner, super slow-mo then from Paul Hudson, looking fantastic. Join us again for more action in the open class then after this break.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Finmere Showground for Open Superlight Race 3, and James Addy gets the hat-trick, 3 pole positions in one day for him. Alongside him, Mark Richardson then. On row 2 is Colin Griffiths with Danny Whitney. On row 3 is Phil Lee with Duncan Macbeth. On row 4 is Charlie Wellborn with Simon Nutter in P8. And completing the lineup in the open class, Alan Henley takes P9 on row 5. Now the news is, it doesn't look like James Addy's going to start, Luke. What's we got?
Well, James Addy not coming out for race number 3, so not sure what the problem is for James, but maybe he's damaged that Superlight, but certainly not able to take his place on the grid for race number 3, so Mark Richardson is promoted to P1. and we've got Mark Richardson on the front row, and the man in the number 19 machine, Simon Nutter, behaving like his namesake there, and went completely off the track for some reason known only to himself.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened, whether he actually spun off the start and didn't get some traction down to one side of the vehicle, or elected to take the scenic route. Now, there's a Superlite broken down, I think that's from the 650 class. Is that still 10 pages from the previous race?
Quite possibly. Didn't quite pick that up. I was just a bit preoccupied with what on earth happened for Simon Nutter, because he just got such a strange drive off the grid and veered very, very violently to the right. Took out a cone and then got himself sorted out again, but at the moment he's very much apparently at the back of the grid, or field even.
Absolutely. This, in fact, an airstrip from World War II. Our airports closed in about 1945, I do believe. There's a bit of history for you. That's about 30 seconds of your life you'll never get back. Right, number 74 then, having a battle with number 56, Danny Whitney. That's Charlie Wellborn. The number 74 Superlite. Just having a look there as we're picking up Colin Griffiths, going sideways there and getting the power down, looking absolutely fantastic. Bit of a burn there for him to correct and steer right around, but no trouble for Colin Griffiths.
No trouble for Colin Griffiths, but very, very rough. We just saw the back end right up in the air, just as we said. Commentators curse, no trouble for Colin Griffiths, and he nearly did a forward somersault in his Superlite there. But the man in the 56 machine, Danny Whitney, trying to chase down number 150, Duncan Macbeth, and that's Simon Nutter again retiring, Chris.
Yeah, he's parked in a bush again, and well, that's where he crashed in the last race, and that was what caused the race stoppage last time around. He actually managed to bounce off and land on the other side of the circuit, and he's in a dodgy position there because where's he going to go? Red flag, there it is, from one of the marshals. So we're going to have a restart.
So the grid restarts. Probably no Simon Nutter on this grid. Damage to him. Though he's there at the back and jinking right again this time, but from the left-hand side of the grid. So that worked out properly this time. Mark Richardson again getting a fantastic start. He gets the whole shot with the man in the number 40 Superlite in second place. Colin Griffiths ahead of Phil Lee, and I think Duncan Macbeth in fourth at the moment there, Chris.
I just noticed the other flags out there is they're all going through the field. Quite literally, it is a field pretty neatly there as they go back into the airstrip section of this great Finmere venue. I think, you know, although this is the first time we've visited this venue, it's been really challenging. It's some really entertaining racing today.
Yeah, entertaining is definitely the word that I would use, and I'm sure the drivers would probably use the word challenging. Bit of a car park there as Colin Griffith got it sideways going into that left-hander, and everybody else had to adjust their entry speed accordingly. But as the drivers have gone on through the course of this day, they've got used to this track, and although the dirt section is very rough, they've got really, really progressively faster and faster, and as their confidence grows, then it's some really, really tight racing here now, which is fantastic to see.
There's been a truck there that actually got a sign saying you can't park in the distance behind, so you're absolutely right, it is a car park, so you can give a sign as well, because you couldn't find it. But Danny Whitney there, just making his way through, number 74, still ahead of him, Charlie Wellborn there.
Yeah, Charlie Wellborn, I was just going to say that Charlie looks to have picked up the pace, and the rest of the guys are not getting away from him. He's really quick through that chicane that sort of works its way around the bigger jump that the Supermoto bikes have been taking. It's perhaps too big for the Superlites, but he's very tight through there. But fair dues to Charlie. As the day's gone on, he's picked up the pace and he's as quick as the rest of the boys through that section.
Yeah, sorry, my bad though. I did say Charlie was ahead of him. Just ahead of Charlie at the moment, chasing Phil Lee.
Yeah, we've always said Phil Lee's definitely quick in a Superlite. As you said, Chris, I think took the championship in his first year of competing in Superlites. So he's pulled off onto the side, onto the green stuff that remains, and also number 69 is the Superlite leftover from the previous race that's not yet been recovered. So again, a bit of a car park for Superlites there, but that's the man I was just talking about. That's number 74, Charlie Wellborn, and he's definitely picked up the pace as the day's gone on, and looking very smooth.
I'm not sure about car park, it's a bit more like a graveyard for Superlites today, isn't it? Lots of retirees.
Yeah, that's the phrase I was looking for, but it eluded me as almost as surely as a race finish has been eluded some of these Superlite drivers today in these treacherous conditions at times. That's the 46 machine on the other newcomer today, and that's Alan Henley. And Simon Nutter's just been stopping at various strange points during the course of every race today, bless him.
Yeah, he's struggled a bit, hasn't he? And yeah, I just wonder if the line of the racer in mind there is very, very dodgy indeed. It's been interesting is that, well, of course, that's done before is, Colin Griffiths there just making a little bit of a mistake, losing some time, and Duncan Macbeth wasting no time steaming past there.
Yeah, it's interesting that looking at Colin Griffiths, I noticed a couple of times he's gone over that jump, and the way that he's been approaching it is that he's ended up going over the jump in a way that the front end is down. Now, I remember seeing Colin McRae, the rally driver, who's sadly passed away now, but he explained that you've got to gas it over the jump to keep the front end up, or brake to keep the front end down. So it looks like Colin Griffiths has maybe been dabbing the brakes for confidence as he hits the jumps and it's tipping forward. Duncan Macbeth comes up there to the camera operator.
Yeah, but all sorts going on. Mark Richardson cutting the corner there completely, and there is Mark Richardson now. I also noticed Danny Whitney and Simon Nutter both getting going after letting the entire field come past them. So there's a bit of a race on between them two now, as Duncan Macbeth there coming past. I think that's
Alan Henley, I think, waving Duncan Macbeth through there.
And Matt Richardson
takes the checker flag.
Taking the checker flag there after cutting that corner. So let's see if he gets away with that. Does claim the race win. He does indeed take 35 points down for Open Superlites race number 3, despite leaving the track there and rejoining it again. Duncan Macbeth taking second place, and that's a few well-earned points that he'll certainly be adding to his tally for the championship. Colin Griffiths taking third ahead of Phil Lee, Charlie Wellborn, Alan Henley, Simon Nutter and Danny Whitney. The top 8 in the British Superlight Open class, race number 3. Let's get down to the paddock then for reaction from the drivers after that.
Danny, lovely to see you in third place today. How have you found the day's racing?
Bloody exciting, really exciting, bumpy. Tiring, very tiring.
It looked like a really fun track, but a really difficult track at the same time.
Very different, I think. A lot more off-road than normal, but change is good, really works well.
Well done, Danny.
Yeah.
That's
first one time here, so it can only get better, can't it?
absolutely well done. And we don't have Colin, unfortunately, but
well, it's good
Mark,
he's only third anyway, so it doesn't matter.
how have you found the day's racing, Mark?
Yeah, very good. Like as yesterday, got faster as the day went on. But yeah, very good.
How have you found it then, racing against these guys? Because obviously some of them have been doing a little bit longer than you have, but you seem to be enjoying yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm still only new. I've only been at it a couple of weeks, and yeah, we're getting the hang of it.
You're very keen to get off the line today, I noticed.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how it goes.
So let's take a quick look at the Open Superlight standings there. Mark Richardson, the man who leads the championship ahead of Duncan Macbeth, and not many points between them, just 6 points separating first and second place. Phil Lee and Danny Whitney tying on points for third. So some great racing then in the Open Superlight Championship. Mark Richardson taking the win in Open Superlight Race 3. That's all we've got time for this week, but join us again next time for more action from round 4 of the British Superlight Championship.
The British Superlight Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.